All right, so back for part two of Stratton Oakmont's original straight line system by Jordan Belfort. What we're going to get into here is what they used to do as a qualifying call to build leads. And this is their script that they used to use back in the day. They used to say, "Hello, Mr. Jones. I'm John Smith from Stratton Oakmont in New York. How are you today?" "Great. Sir, I know you're busy. I'll get right to the point. Are you familiar with the name Stratton Oakmont?" "No?" "Okay. Do you presently have an account with Stratton Oakmont?" "That's fine. You may not be. Listen, we specialize in both foreign and domestic special situations, new issues, secondaries, things of that nature. Very simply, with your permission, all I would like to do is introduce myself and my firm, forward you a complimentary issue of our monthly research report, and at a later date perhaps get back to you with our latest recommendations. Is that fair enough?" "Yeah, sure." "Okay. Let me get into some qualifying questions where you would proceed to. In order not to waste your time with an inappropriate investment or something that was not suitable for you, do you prefer big board or over-the-counter stocks? Have you invested internationally? When you invest, do you usually invest more long-term or more short-term? And by what nature are you more aggressive or more conservative? Nothing specific, approximately, but how much do you have in the market? Ballpark figure. Okay, and when you like an idea, what's a comfortable dollar range you normally work with? If I came back to you with an idea that you like and the timing is right, ballpark, what would you feel comfortable with investing in? Ballpark. And so that I know what you like or your investment objectives, can you name for me a few stocks that you recently purchased or are currently holding? Mr. Jones, what I will do is have my secretary forward that out. If you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call. Thanks for your time. Now, these seem like simple questions, but they all have a specific reason for asking them. If somebody is interested in a over-the-counter stock over than a big board stock, they're more speculative. They're willing to gamble, right? But another key line here is, so that I know what you like or your investment objectives, can you name for me a few stocks that you recently purchased or are currently holding? Now, they didn't ask that question so that they know what they're already holding. What they asked that question for was when they called back for the second call and it sounded like a sales call and the prospect was about to hang up, they could say, "Well, hold on a second. You have stock in X, Y, and Z. You have stock in A, B, and C, right?" "Yeah, I do. Why?" So what they did on the first call was gather a little bit of intelligence so that on the next call, you didn't just get blown off. On the first call, what kind of stock? What kind of stocks are you holding right now? "Oh, you have AT&T stock. Yeah, listen, I gotta go. All right, let's go. Blah 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 blah." Next call, you try to pitch. "Listen, Mr. Jones, I have a stock for you. I'm busy. I gotta go. But you told me you had stock in AT&T. It's like, oh, yeah, I do. Why? Grab a pen, write this down. That's a key part of his strategy where on the qualifying calls, you were getting enough information where you got into that next call and had enough ammunition to be able to present to get into the presentation. And let's go on to the next slide. So it says, if yes, just a few quick questions so that in the future I won't waste your time. If no, if not interested. This is if he had another person he was working with. That's great. We're not looking to interfere with anything you're currently doing. I was only hoping that in the future, when we isolate in a situation with strong potential to make you money, you would have an open ear. Is that fair enough? Next slide. Rebuttals, which I know everybody is interested in, right? People always say, "I get a lot of these calls." Let's see what Jordan suggests. I get a lot of these calls. I'm sure you get bombarded with these calls. I'm sure you can tell the good from the bad. Stratton Oakmont is a boutique investment bank making only a handful of recommendations a year. At this point, I'm only hoping to introduce myself, my firm, and get back to you with our next major recommendation. So he's always closing for the next call. He has a system where all he needs at this point is to qualify the person that they have enough money in the market and they are able to invest into the investments that Stratton was offering at that time. It was never to get them to be super excited right now at this point. It was just qualify them and make sure that they are able to invest. So when we go into that next call, we know he's got stock in AT&T and he has a $500,000 in the market. So when he says he has no money in the market, we know he's lying. When he says ATM, when he says he has no stocks, well, you told Mr. Jones, but you told my junior broker that you had stock in AT&T that was at this price, right? Now you got something for him to listen to at least. It goes from being a sales call to wait a minute. I know a little bit about you here. The next thing is happy with their current situation, happy with broker. He suggests saying, that's great. Believe me, we're not looking to run your portfolio. Stratton Oakmont is a boutique investment banking firm making only a handful of recommendations a year. I'm only asking that when I share an idea that I can make you money. You would have an open ear. Is that fair enough? Here's another one. I didn't think otherwise. However, I'm sure you will agree that no one person or one firm for that matter, has a monopoly on ideas. Stratton Oakmont is a boutique investment banking firm specializing in distressed and undervalued blue chip and issues, secondaries, things of that nature. So simple rebuttals. Somebody comes back to you and says they have their money invested in real estate. He suggested for you to say, great investment, but you don't have the liquidity or the diversification of the market. In this type of investment, you should make a move without that. Brother, friend, or cousin, that's a big one still today. When you call people for any type of business transaction, a lot of people say, I deal with my brother, I deal with my cousin. There's no way I can break that relationship. And at this time, Jordan Belfort was saying to say, don't let your personal relationships interfere with your ability to make money in the market. Stratton Oakmont makes only a handful of recommendations a year, so you won't be hearing from me too often. Very simply, when we're moving on our next investment opportunity, I'd like to be able to call you and run it by you. Again, he's moving towards that next call. When that next call comes, he wants the person to be receptive on the phone and listen. That's all this call is about. Qualifying and get them to be receptive to that next phone call. He writes here, very important. The individuals you are calling are the top executives at that company and possibly many others. Many times, not only are they excellent retail clientele for Stratton Oakmont, but they also may be good candidates for a corporate finance relationship. If a prospect says they're not interested in raising money for their company or an investment banking relationship, simply ask them to send us a business plan and mention that audited financials would help. Have them send the information to XYZ. Next slide. Other tips. Stick to the program. Listen to what the man says. Be a good listener. Be confident. Find a role model or mentor. Be consistent, not fair weather. Here's what he says not to do. Don't pick up bad habits. You first make your habits, then your habits make you. This is the most important philosophy for you to understand. You don't suddenly have a bad habit. For example, you don't become an alcoholic or a drug addict. You make one mistake, then another, and this creates a habit. Once it is almost impossible to break. Think about it. We are all creatures of habit. We wake up at the same time, we eat the same things, we go to the same hangouts, and say the same things over and over. Don't let destructive behavior become a habit. If Jordan Belfort would have listened to this number one tip right here, he would have been a billionaire. I mean, again, 90% of this sales system is absolutely accurate and absolutely morally and ethically correct. It's the 10% of it that he fucked up, right? And you know what? I've made mistakes in my past, and he's made mistakes in his past. So let's see what else he says not to do. He says, never ever be discourteous to a prospect or their secretary. How foolish could one be? You told them your name, the firm and what you represent. This will certainly come back to haunt you, the broker and the firm you work for. Save yourself the heartache and embarrassment by keeping your composure. Be polite, apologetic, respectful, and professional. Doesn't sound like a scam artist to me at that point. Number 3, don't waste time. There are only so many hours in a day and so many minutes in an hour. Every minute counts, every single minute. You spend most of your day trying to make contact. You've got to get the dials in. Still correct to this day. Number 4, never comment on or after each phone call or lead. Everyone has a story to tell, either this or that. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody. Just get your leads and do your job. That's it. Who cares how your conversation with Mr. Jones was? Good or bad? Who cares? 100% correct. Number 5, don't ever waste your time talking and screwing around with other brokers or trainees. At the end of each day, you are judged on your performance, and so is the fool next to you who lets you distract them. You are all on a mission to be great cold caller, pass your test, and be a successful stockbroker. Any other activity beyond your mission is a waste of time. This is still key to this day. So I advised a company who is selling AT&T door to door, knocking on doors and saying, "Who's your current provider? Who are you working with, and whatnot?" These guys would knock on doors and get into conversations about all kinds of things, nothing about what they're doing over here, and then knock on a door and get into conversation with their buddy who is supposed to be knocking on another door. A bunch of time is fucking wasted. No, nothing's getting done. So being laser focused in an environment that is contrary to that is very difficult, but it's definitely something to pay attention to. So number 6, don't make non-productive phone calls either to friends outside or brokers inside the firm. The phone in the boardroom are for business, period. Yeah, when you're on the clock, don't be fucking around. Number 7, never drift into space while cold calling. Stay focused and pumped. Keep your blood pumping by standing and moving. When I was first trained, I had to earn my chair. I'll say that again. When I first started cold calling, I had to earn my chair. So I had to stand up and cold call through this for my whole entire day. And until I closed enough to the point where I deserved the chair is when I got one. Stay up, stay moving. I still agree with that to this day. Guys are out there being men and women. Guys are being a bunch of pussies. I'll put it, that's putting it lightly. I need a chair. I got to sit. I got to read a script. And I got to do this, that, and the other thing. Put everything you got into this. You want to get somewhere in the world? You want to come to this firm, into this organization that we speak of greatness? If you're not working for a company that's trying to be of greatness, then quit. Find another one. If you're in this company, you're trying to be great, you should be up. You should be pumped. You should be pissed at anybody else around you who is not trying to be that way. I remember being so focused in the boardroom where guys would come up to me and I would just ghost them. They'd be like, "Hey Lou, I just shoom, right past you. I'm not even listening to you." Okay? And that might seem rude, ignorant, or whatever, but at the end of the month, when they put the numbers on the board, then we got to see why it wasn't so rude. You know what I mean? So let's go to and he even explains why right here. Why? A, if he's up and you're down, no conversation. If he's down and you're up, no conversation. If he's down, you're up, no conversation. If he's up and you're up, conversation is up. Okay? And you know what? If you're up and he's down, you can get him up. He's down, you're up. Okay, Mr. Jones. Ring, 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 ring. Hey, Mr. Jones. It's Lewis Carroll. How you doing? Listen, this is not a good time to talk right now. I know, I know. But listen, I need you to grab a pen. I promise you, I'm not gonna waste your time. You sound like you're down and out right now. I'm calling you right now to brighten up your day. That house that you've been looking at, that you've been looking to get a purchase on, I have it listed. All of a sudden, he goes from, you do? You have it listed? How much is it going for? I want to put an offer in. And walking and just being ready for that phone call, like it's a UFC match. There's something to be said about that, even to this day. Again, nobody's looking to scam anybody. Forget that whole momentum. We're talking about legal business of trying to sell people on a product that is suited and compliant and they're qualified for. Let's move on to the next slide here. This is what a qualified investor used to mean to them. Any corporation or individual investor with 100,000 annual income and a book net worth or more in the stock market. Any investor with 100,000 or more in the stock market who is somewhat receptive. I say somewhat because they don't have to be overjoyed that they heard from you. Good point. For a better qualified lead, the following information would benefit both the broker and the prospect. Big board, over the counter, international investments. Number 2, aggressive or conservative, blah, 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 blah. Let's see what he says as to-dos as a broker trainee. Number 1, be an example of what a broker trainee should be. Number 2, separate yourself from the crowd. Eagles don't flock. You find them one at a time. Number 3, always be polite and professional. Each contact you make is a representation of the firm image. Number 4, try to keep motivated and energetic throughout the day. This will build endurance and, most important, foundation for your success. This business is not a sprint but a marathon. Don't ever forget that. Number 5, make the most of your day. Keep focused and keep your eyes on your goals daily, weekly, and monthly. Number 6, play by the numbers. It is proven. Stick to it. Speak to 50 people a day or 5 or 6 an hour. This is a profession. The more people you contact, the better you will actually do. Number 7, thank every prospect, good, bad, or indifferent, for their time. It helps keep you out of trouble, and people will understand you're only doing your job trying to make a living. Number 8, never ever think or believe that you are just a cold caller. No matter what I say or anyone else, you're an apprentice of a stockbroker who is learning a career. Simply put, a broker. Number 9, be prepared to live for your first 2 years like no one else, working harder than you ever thought possible, and for the rest of your life, you will live like no one can. Some powerful words. Goes into what a qualified investor is. This is the same sheet. And then this goes into the second chapter. I'm going to wrap it up here and go on to part 2, as part 2 is the actual script that they used to use line by line to get that qualified lead. So tune in.